guys, I want to talk to you about this because some Western countries, especially in Germany, people are gluing themselves to the roads, fighting for the climate and, a cleaner environment. And everyone there is torturing themselves, recycling and doing all that, and really tough restrictions. But are these countries really responsible for the mess that we're dealing with? Nope. They're not. So where are the biggest threats right now? I want to tell you a story. There's a single country that has a huge share of the global threat that comes from waste disposal. And you hear me right, waste disposal. You might wonder, why is that affecting everyone if they're burying their waste somewhere? Well, they're not burying it. They're doing something else with it. So let's take Germany as an example, right? It doesn't matter how much plastic materials are used in Germany, very little of them end up in the environment because they're very advanced there and everyone is basically under tight control, really, really tight control. But there's other countries like India. Things are very different there, and how they are getting rid of their waste there is posing a major health risk. So more than 52 million tons of plastic waste entered the environment worldwide, for example, in the year 2020. This has been researched by British researchers, and the majority of that plastic waste that did enter the environment comes from areas where the waste is not collected or not collected on a regular basis. So India alone accounts for 1/5 of these 52 million tons alone. That's 1/5 of the global total is coming from India, and then it's followed by Nigeria, Indonesia, China, and Pakistan. And then these researchers used computer models and calculated that more than half of this waste, to be specific, 57% of this waste is burnt in open, unfiltered fires. So there we go, right? Even in North America, we can't have a wood stove anymore. In Germany, if you have a fireplace, well, it's not allowed. You're the outcast. You're the environmental devil, so to speak, right? But yeah, burn your waste in unfiltered, open fire pits. Isn't this great? So of course, worldwide, plastic pollution is a global challenge. There's microplastics everywhere. It's found in our bodies, in the animals, in the fish. So plastic that enters the environment cannot be biodegraded, or some of it can only be biodegraded very slowly. So what happens instead? Larger pieces of plastic break down through weathering into microplastics, which in turn damage the nature and the environment and ourselves. So there have been studies into the causes and the extent of pollution before, but so far they have largely been carried out at the country level, so each country for themselves. But now the Brits have looked at a different kind of data. They have collected a wide variety of data, for example, on material flows, garbage collection, and waste treatment for more than 50,000 cities worldwide. And they have closed data gaps by using these machine learning models. So what have they done? They used all these data and they fed it into a global model, which then provided figures on what these countries are doing for most countries in the world. And this is unique. This is a first. For the first time, the researchers also took into account plastic waste that is openly burned, both in landfills and elsewhere. So many people in these countries might think if we light the plastic on fire, if it burns, it's no longer visible. So it's as if the plastic disappears. Nope, it doesn't. So in reality, the result could be serious health problems if you burn plastic, including reproductive and developmental disorders. And we know these disorders are on the rise, right? So the entire environment is contaminated with harmful substances. It goes into the air, into the ground, into the water, into the animals, into the plants. So what the researchers also did, and I think that's very good, they did not solely rely on government data, because especially in some of these countries that can be manipulated heavily, right? Because official figures in India say that India has a 95% garbage collection coverage, which is garbage, right? So the British team has found evidence that the official statistic do not take into account all these rural areas where they do open burning of uncollected garbage, or garbage collected from other sources is burned in these rural areas. So that's why the scientists assume that in India alone, the waste of around, listen to that number, guys, 255 million people is not collected by garbage collectors, right? This is crazy, absolutely crazy. So we can't have a straw in our Starbucks drink, right? This is, I don't want to say the word, but I hate it whenever I want to have my coffee frappuccino or something else, and then you're chewing on that soft, disgusting tasting paper straw. I want to start a war against paper straws. Sorry, guys. I'm very environmental friendly. I want to say that, guys. Not that you get me wrong. You know, I have a farm. I keep this completely organic. There is no weed killer. There's nothing poisonous. I pull the weeds. I fight the weeds. I don't do anything chemical or nothing, because my animals run around there. I grow my veggies. Also, my animals don't get anything harmful. So this is completely clean. Every oil drop I find, I clean the soil. I'm very environmentally conscious, not like other people that use diesel or gasoline to start their burning fires. I don't burn my garden debris or branches or whatever. I just don't do that, right? So don't get me wrong on this, but some stuff has to make sense, and there's some stuff that just doesn't make sense, like these paper straws. So 255 million people have no garbage collection, and they burn that stuff. So the scientific model that these researchers were creating found that 9.3 million tons of plastic waste have entered the environment in India in 2020, and it's probably rising. And also the situation is worsening in Africa. So there is 3.5 million tons of plastic waste in Nigeria. That's an African country, obviously. And that is the second largest emitter of plastic, because the problem is Africa's population is expected to grow rapidly in the coming decades. So that's why the scientists fear that the situation will even worsen if action is not taken. So maybe we should spend our resources and our actions, or bring it where the problem really is, instead of terrorizing citizens with stupid regulations, right? We need to catch the problem where the problem really lies and hold these countries accountable, because they're not only polluting themselves, they're polluting the rest of the world as well. So because if you compare it to high income countries, to very wealthy countries, they're using a lot of plastic. A lot of plastic, especially in Europe and North America, but relatively little of it ends up in the environment because waste collection coverage is usually almost 100%. And especially in Europe, recycling is big. You recycle plastic, there's special places where you can bring it. Your plastic bottles, you know, they have a deposit, you bring it back. So it's very advanced there. So, how does plastic then enter the environment? That's a careless disposal of plastic waste. That's the most common cause of plastic entering the environment. So not by more advanced countries using plastic items. So, but one of the so-called super clean countries, Germany, has long been considered to be the largest exporter of plastic waste in the European Union. But this amount has fallen in recent years, we have to say that, but it's still the case. But, you know, also, if you look at the Mediterranean Sea, for example, there's a serious environmental problem as well, because you see, it's heavily polluted. There's lots of plastic arriving at the beaches. But, you know, you have to look which countries are actually throwing that out so that it ends up there. So yeah, not great. I thought I'd let you know about this. And if you liked what you saw, become a subscriber, leave this video a like, share it with your friends to push that channel out, to get that channel going. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.